Well, it's been 9 months since the start of training camp when everyone went in with optimism into the 2023-24 regular season. And 68 games later, and now 3 rounds of playoffs, we're down to the final two teams. This is the OHL Championship preview between the London Knights and the Oshawa Generals. Two historic franchises going toe to toe. And I think this series may be a lot more interesting than what some may think. So let's go over the stats. In the regular season, of course, these two in opposite conferences, they only played each other twice, but they were two very memorable hockey games. Oshawa with a 1-0-1 record. That's because their first meeting at the Tribute Community Center, that was on February 11th. The Oshawa Generals, they had a 3-0 lead in that hockey game. It looked like they were about to snap the London Knights' point streak. However, the Knights would come back and win that game in overtime by a final score of 4-3. But the Generals, they would get a win on the road at Budweiser Gardens. That was on February 28th, and the Generals would win that game 6-4 in regulation, and that was at the start of their 12-game winning streak to end the regular season. And the Generals, of course, would go on to finish first in the Eastern Conference standings. While the London Knights, they did have that lengthy point streak. Easton Cowan was on a whole other level, and the Knights would end up winning the Hamilton Spectator Trophy and would have home ice advantage through the playoffs. So yes, they do have home ice in this series, which gets underway Thursday night at 7 at Budweiser Gardens. Going over the stats from the first 3 rounds of the playoffs, the goals for category, the Generals, they do have the advantage, 64 goals for to London's 57, so it's a slight advantage. Oshawa has played a few more games than the London Knights in the postseason, but the goals against is the big difference. The London Knights, they've only allowed 37 goals in the playoffs to Oshawa's 46. So that just goes to show the defensive capabilities of this London Knights team and also the goaltending, as Michael Simpson now playing in back-to-back OHL championships. He, of course, won the championship last year at the Peterborough Petes, and now this hometown London Knights looking to make it back-to-back championships and Memorial Cup appearances. On the specialty teams front, the advantage on the power play goes to London. Their power play operating at a 27.3% success rate to Oshawa's 21.9%. But the penalty kill unit, the edge has to go to Oshawa. They're operating at 82.7% to London's 80.3%. But still, pretty good numbers on the specialty teams, but pretty close in a couple of those categories. That's why I think this could be a very entertaining series. And I don't think this is going to be a quick one. This could be a longer series. Much like we saw in the conference finals. Looking at the top scorers, we're going to start off the top 5 scorers for the Oshawa Generals in the postseason. Callum Ritchie leads the way, the Colorado Avalanche prospect, 6 goals, 19 assists, 25 points. He has been clutch in the playoffs here for the Oshawa Generals. Beckett Seneca, second in team scoring with 10 goals, 12 assists, good for 22 points. Mind you, Seneca did miss Game 7 against the North Bay Battalion, so something to keep an eye on if you're an Oshawa fan. Third in scoring, Dylan Robrick. He is a beast. 10 goals, 11 assists, 21 points. Connor Lockhart, who has championship experience with Peterborough, he is fourth in scoring for Oshawa with 6 goals, 8 assists, good for 14 points. And rounding out the top 5, Luca Morelli, 2 goals, 10 assists, good for 12 points in the postseason. When looking at goaltending, Jacob Oster leads the way for Oshawa. He has the 12-5 record, a 2.29 goals against average, and a 923 save percentage. That is why he won Goaltender of the Year. He was stellar during the regular season, and that's kind of carried over into the playoffs. Noah Bender, his backup, the rookie goaltender, appeared in one game in relief. That was in game number 6 up in North Bay in the Eastern Conference Final. So his stats, 5.60 goals against average, and an 824 save percentage. The only way we'll see Bender in the championship series is if he's in relief or if something happens, unfortunately, to Jacob Oster. I don't see Oster leaving that crease. He's a competitive goaltender, and he's been doing a fantastic job for Oshawa. So really, when you look back at the playoffs and how things worked out, it was a challenging opening round for Oshawa against the Barrie Colts. They ended up needing 6 games to get by Barrie. But then after that, they went on a 7-game winning streak. They had 7 wins in a row. They swept Ottawa in the second round, had a 3-0 series lead over North Bay in the Eastern Conference Final. But then Connor Punnick got injured, and then the depth was tested a bit in that North Bay series, and the Battalion came back nearly completing the reverse sweep of the Oshawa Generals, but Oshawa would win in commanding fashion in game number 7. So depth, of course, like I said, it's been tested going down the stretch. So we'll keep an eye on the health front because Beckett Seneca, as I mentioned, he was the surprise scratch for game 7 due to an injury. The injury has not been specified from what I'm hearing. And also William Buckley out the last 2 games of the playoffs. He was lethal on the power play for this Oshawa Generals team. My understanding is he loves to go golfing, and he's taken that driving swing into a shot on the ice. And he's been great on the one-timer. So it would be great, I think, for Oshawa if they could get Buckley back to help out that power play and the specialty teams. So Buckley and Seneca were out for game 7. Connor Punnett did dress, very limited on the ice. He was more so on the bench as encouragement. But still, Connor Punnett, what a great pickup for Oshawa at the OHL trade deadline. Shifting focus now to the London Knights. Their top 5 scorers, Easton Cowan, leads the way. 7 goals, 12 assists, 19 points. Then you have Max McHugh, second in scoring with 2 goals, 15 assists, 17 points. Denver Barkey, 3 goals, 13 assists, 16 points. A little surprised Denver Barkey only has 3 goals, but still getting the job done with the assists. Then you have Kasper Hultinen, 4th in scoring, 9 goals, 6 assists, 15 points. During the regular season, he was very important on the power play as he's got that great shot, very crafty, and he finds himself 4th in scoring in the playoffs. And then 5th, Jacob Julian, 7 goals, 6 assists, 13 points. Of course, he had back-to-back hat tricks in the series to wrap it up with the Kitchener Rangers in the second round. So just the 1 goal since that series against the Kitchener Rangers, but Jacob Julian still contributing offensively for the London Knights. In net, Michael Simpson, he's got that 12-2 record, a 259 goals against average, and a 911 save percentage. So his number is looking pretty good as well, similar to Jacob Oster. Simpson, of course, the runner-up in goaltender of the year. So we got the 2 top goaltenders going head-to-head in the OHL final. Owen Wilmore, he did appear in 1 game for relief in the Western Conference final against Saginaw. He's got a 3.56 goals against average and an 857 save percentage. So much like Jacob Oster, I'd expect Simpson to have the crease throughout the OHL final against the Oshawa Generals. So Wilmore, his only appearance, that was in game 3 against the Saginaw Spirit. But other than that, it has been Michael Simpson's net. Now for London, the storyline has been suspensions. That's been a theme during the playoffs of late and during the regular season. Right now, they are without Landon Sim and Caleb Lawrence. They're both handed 5-game suspensions in an incident in Game 5 against Saginaw. So that means they won't return until Game 5 of the OHL final if it goes that far. So that's a tough break for the London Knights because Caleb Lawrence, he was actually in the top 5 in scoring for the London Knights going into the Western Conference final. So he is a big piece down the middle, a big body that they picked up from Ottawa at the OHL trade deadline. So he'll be missed down the middle, but if they can get the wins early in the series, and if they do get to a Game 5-6 situation, then Landon Sim and Caleb Lawrence could be contributing factors to try and clinch the OHL championship for the London Knights. Now, this is the second 5-game suspension for Caleb Lawrence. He was handed that 5-game suspension in the Kitchener series, so he only appeared in 1 game against Saginaw before getting another suspension. So tough break there. So that's 10 games Caleb Lawrence will miss due to suspension. And I know there's been a lot of talk about players like Sawyer Bolton, suspended 7 times between the regular season and the playoffs. Bolton eligible to return for Game 1 against the Oshawa Generals because, of course, he was given that 2-game suspension for a slew foot. So it's just, like I said, suspensions have been an issue, but it really hasn't affected the London Knights that much because London has shown all season they can adapt to whoever is out of the lineup, be it injury, suspension. They have that next man up mentality, and it's been paying off. This team has a lot of depth, and Dale Hunter getting the most out of his team going forward. Now, as I mentioned off the top, both London and Oshawa, they have extensive histories in the junior hockey ranks, but going back over the history books, these 2 teams have never met in the playoffs. So their paths haven't crossed until 2024, which I think is remarkable considering how far back these 2 organizations go. But looking at championships, this is now back-to-back seasons for the Knights to play for the J. Ross Robertson Cup. They went to the final last year and lost to the Peterborough Petes in 6 games. The last time London won the OHL championship, that was in 2016, where they swept the Niagara Ice Dogs and then won the Memorial Cup in Red Deer. So the London Knights, this is a team that's won 8 Wayne Gretzky trophies and looking to add to their trophy cupboard this season as they go up against the Oshawa Generals. But for Oshawa, their last appearance in the OHL final, that was in 2015, where they defeated Connor McDavid and the Erie Otters. That was in 5 games. And then Oshawa, of course, went to Quebec and won the Memorial Cup in 2015 at Le Colisée, the final game before opening the Videotron Center in Quebec City. So 2 very proud organizations, and I think this could be a series that goes the distance. We'll have to wait and see. I know during the regular season, a lot of people are saying how the power has shifted to the West. And yeah, we saw the top 4 teams really in this overall standings were in the Western Conference. Kitchener kind of slid back a bit as the season progressed. So you could say the top 3 teams were in the Western Conference with London, Saginaw, and Sault Ste. Marie. But this Oshawa Generals team, they put on a 12-game winning streak at the end of the regular season, and that included wins against London and Sault Ste. Marie, so 2 of the top teams in the Western Conference. So the Oshawa Generals, they could put up a fight. I think goaltending is going to be key for the Oshawa Generals if they're going to get the win. Jacob Oster is going to have to be stellar. Can this team get healthy? Beckett Seneca, does he return for Game 1 Thursday night? Because he was huge during the playoffs, and as I mentioned, second in team scoring in the postseason. So that's going to be important for Oshawa. And for the London Knights, they have so many offensive weapons, and their defense, also one of the strongest in the Ontario Hockey League. Haven't really talked too much about the defense with Sam Dickinson expected to go in the first round of the NHL draft in June. So he's been contributing not offensively, but he's been contributing in the back end and really shutting things down. So this team, the London Knights, I think they're the favorite going into this, but Oshawa should make things interesting. I think this is going to be a very fun series. Cannot wait for it to get underway. As I mentioned, Game 1 will be on Thursday night. So that's how I see it from the booth. Let me know in the comments section down below your picks. Who do you think is going to win the OHL championship and in how many games? Love to see the interactions. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you again soon.